It's time to do a Pitbull Defender build, which is one of the strongest tier 12 defenders we have currently available, although that's not necessarily saying a ton. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. I'd like to remind you that the videos out there are available, the builds I'm going to show you are going to be available in my builds document, which is you can access from any YouTube video I have for Battle Pirates. There is a link in the description that goes directly to the build video. But let's go ahead and get started. I want to begin by understanding what the whole does, and it is kind of confusing for that reason, and to make it a little more exciting, I have put some replays of me attacking with Helmaz against defending players with Pitbulls out there, so you can kind of see how this whole works and gets a better idea of its mechanics. Let's go ahead and get started understanding the stats. Now, as the stat block says, the hull is going to charge up and gain a combat speed bonus when it's stationary, hiding behind a portal, behind a gate, something like that, and then charge out there, go directly towards your fleet, head towards the ship with the lowest health, and it's going to grab onto that and immobilize that. The concept works out pretty well, although in reality, I find the hull is a little bit too squishy and the armor points are a little bit too low. I'll comment a little bit further on that when I discuss the armor choice towards the end of the video. And it does have a few things out there. By the way, the building damage is from the Conquest Yard. Kixeye does not have building damage on a defender hull, don't worry. And it does have some decent deflections, although like I said, is a little bit squishy. The special abilities here are a little bit hard to understand with the transfer rate they have going on there, but the explanation they have at the top here actually does a pretty good job with that. Let's go ahead and jump into the weapons. So really the only choice you have is the one that came out with the ship, the clampjaw cannon, although I will note the special ability and the sort of seizing of the hull happens perfectly fine without the weapons there, so you could just build the blanks in defense if you felt so inclined. Those are the three weapons you want to use there, not too much choice. Jumping ahead to the specials, the first thing I'm going to do is mention the engine choices. It is very important that you don't put the Stalwart Sentinel Engine 1 or 2 on here, because this will make your ship completely stationary and you won't move. If that's what you want, great, but with the Pitbull, that's not what you're looking for. You want something that can charge out of your portals and attack the enemies, grab one of them, stop them when they're getting towards the end. And you don't want it to just sit there and get killed, as you're going to see I do when I'm attacking one of these bases here. So make sure you are aware of that, and make sure you don't use the Stalwart Sentinel engine unless it is on purpose. What I'm going to recommend instead is one of these turbocharged engines, the turbocharged engine C in fact, that is going to actually increase your ballistic damage and also has overall good combat speed bonuses. Evade is not too important in the current PvP meta when there are a lot of ships that are purely doing splash. Although if we do transition to a point where your base has a lot of things that are doing accuracy-based damage you're having trouble defending against, evade might be helpful for that. So that's the engine you're going to want to use there. I like how it moves. You don't want to have 5 of these in your defense fleet. You only want to have 2 or 3, so just keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and throw out the second 2 specials, which is actually going to be 2 ballistic specials. The first one is going to be a ballistic range special, one that works pretty well with the ship, and that is the augmented ballistic argument. As you can see, this is a plus 50% ballistic range special. You could use some other stuff out there that actually increases the reload, or you could go with one that has more of accuracy. Actually, I'm going to say that streamlined barrel loaders, the one that has ballistic range and ballistic reload, is probably a better idea in most cases than the augmented ballistic armament, because this, what is very helpful about here, it's not really the accuracy, it's more of the range, and reload is what I would generally go for. You could even go really out of the book and do something like nuclear accelerators, but I think I'm just going to go for the streamlined barrel loaders because this gives you some reload, which is fantastic. If I hover over the weapon, you can see it's an accuracy-based weapon with 260% accuracy, no splash, something like that, so I think that the streamlined barrel loaders is the best option here. The next special slot is going to be another ballistic special, and this one is going to focus on Ballistic Reload. This is going to be a Conqueror Defender special, the Ballistic Calibrator. This gives you accuracy, whatever, not that important. The ballistic damage is the important bit. It gives you plus 70%, and if we try and compare that to other sort of specials out there, plus 70%, we're not really going to find anything. We have a plus 50%, we have a plus 55%. So even though it has accuracy, you're really just using it for the, damage right here is the main point of this one. Special slot number 3, we can go ahead and look at a few different options for this and see what we have. If we go ahead and pull a Ballistic Reload, we're really only going to find one option that works relatively well, and that's going to be a countermeasure type special, the CM/CR Reloader. This has a plus 45% Ballistic Reload and is really better than all these other options. We can't use too many of them. We've already used other specials that conflict with that. You could hypothetically jump back and try and put on Autoloaders 3 instead of something I previously showed you. That 136 Ballistic Reload percentage I'm not a great fan of, other than things like damage and stuff like that. You'd have to replace our reload special with that, which I don't really think is worth it. For the last special, if you ever are in a meta where there is a ton of evade stuff being really important, you could throw on evade here. If you're getting pinched very often, which I don't think you are, you're probably going to want to use something like Agility System 4, which is the limited weapon. Although for right now, you can even play around with something and go with like Ballistic Force, increase the damage by a lot and decrease the range. However, you might get sniped out in that regard. So I think I'm just going to call it steady and go with just the Ballistic Damage Boosting Limited Special plus 10% Ballistic Upgrade, and that will just help you out and do more damage, but won't really play around with your range at all. This thing is generally hidden behind gates, and if it wasn't, with just charging out the entire battle, range wouldn't be that important because it closes to a range of 0, but it's just sitting stationary, and your weapon right here is, I believe, at 90 range. If something is just over that, just under that, at that point, getting into the force and the scope might make some sense, but I don't really think does too much here. So at this point, we've gone over the weapons and the specials. Let's have a quick comment on the armors. Right now, if you go over to the limited section and then look at the defender armors we have, these are all deflection based, which you definitely do not want to use because all the attacking weapons have a plus 100% deflection bypass and get through everything. Even if we look at some of these other things here, they just give you more deflection, which is not what you're looking for. You need something that says defense. We haven't yet gotten this. This might come out at next bounty, the bounty after that. If it does, go ahead and use whichever one attackers are using. If a lot of people using Helmos, for instance, are getting into your base, put on the explosive one. You can mix and match around with that as you so choose. For right now, I think that the best option is going to either be an evade or a speed armor, probably the D5 EV that does a little bit of both, although just dropping to the D5E will give you just more evade. I think the D5 EV, if you choose to put an armor on there, I'm probably just going to leave mine blank. This will increase the combat speed, which should be helpful. I think this hole's biggest problem is your gate needs to actually die, and this thing needs to be placed a little bit further away from that. And it needs to actually have enough survival, or not a survival rather, enough armor points and enough defense, which I suppose you could call survival if you really wanted to actually have a good chance at stopping an enemy hole. So there are my thoughts on that. I want to ask you, how do you plan to use this ship in your base, and where would you choose to put it? I'm going to recommend putting it a little bit back from your portal, but still in your channel there so it can charge out and kill it. It seems to be pretty popular to use it at the very end of your channel after they've gone through most of your other ships. Go ahead and let me know where you plan to use it. If this video was helpful, please consider sharing it with someone else in your alliance, your sector, or something like that. Sharing these videos is how this channel really got started, and I want to go back to a little bit more of that. I hope that you like some of the stuff going on in the background. Unfortunately, my two ships are currently built like this, which is not great, so hopefully me hitting some bases out there let you see the hole in action and wasn't too distracting. Let me know if you want me to keep up doing videos where I show the ship in there, especially for PvP videos posted a little bit later. With that said, and until next time, I want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone whose name appears on the end screen now. I'm going to be updating this here in a few days. They are helping keep the channel going and making these videos possible. With that said, and until next time, this is going to be Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.